Hello everybody, hope you're doing well. Today I'm going to be doing a review of the third album by Vola called Witness. Vola are a Danish group who have been releasing material for over a decade now, and I've always felt that there's a really good yin and yang with Vola, because although they definitely fit in with the metasphere by having a lot of chugging riffs and pounding drums and percussion, they also have a yang to it too, which is very pop orientated and melodic choruses and sounds which are very heavily shown through Aske, which is the vocalist, who has a very warm, uplifting and very inviting vocal which is used throughout all of this group's material. Vola's great ear for pop sort of melodies reminds me quite a lot of the group Mew, who are one of my favourite rock groups, and very cleverly I saw one person on the internet describe these guys as mutal, which are very heavily used and love to say. It's not just because of the heavenly melodies that Mew have, but it's also a technique that Mew do that I've used Vola also utilise in their material, which is whenever there's a chorus they usually have some instrumentation which plays along to the melody of what they're singing, primarily a piano, which always gives it a sort of ethereal sort of vibe to it. In 2015 we saw the release of the debut album by Vola, which is called In Mazes. This was an album which had very complex and technical guitar passages, some actual growled vocals too, but all of this counteracts with some tracks such as Emily, which is a very ethereal and quite haunting sort of ambient pop track, and also a track on here which might be the contender for my favourite Vola track, the song Gutter Moon, which melody is kind of like an old 2005 Nokia ringtone. It wasn't until 2018 that Vola released their second album, Applause from a Distant Crowd, and this was the album that not only helped me discover Vola but made me fall in love with them, especially because of this being a very blissful metal record. If that sounds like an oxymoron, apologies there. But it's very just ethereal and very dreamlike, and again there's some absolutely killer tracks on here. You know, I could give a lot of songs on this album a shout out because I love this album, but I'll give you two recommendations. You've got to check out the first track, We Are Thin Air, which is gorgeous and Vola in a nutshell, but also I've really got to give you a shout out to the song Ruby Pool. That's a mint song too. So albeit a short discography, I enjoyed these two releases by Vola, and of course made me very excited to see what they were going to do next. What sort of direction were they going to go into? Were they going to go even into more pop territories, or they're going to go even more dreamier, maybe abandon the whole metal sound altogether, because they do that on certain tracks, they've shown up in the past. Maybe they're going to completely go back to square one and make a very heavy metal record, maybe the heaviest that they've made so far. They've shown that they can actually do growled vocals very well. Maybe they're going to have a record which is mostly growled vocals. But instead, we kind of got something even more different to that. I'd say that Vola are definitely trying out new territories and experimenting a lot with this album. No, this isn't the heaviest by them, and it's not the most tranquil, but instead it's the one which I feel is kind of like a journey. Doesn't that sound exciting? Yes, with a lot more tools under the belt, Vola have been able to show that they are willing to experiment with this album, and for the most part it works really well. Never mind the instrumentation, which to me, because of the futuristic guitar passages and drumming and the keyboard sound quality to this record, gives it a kind of sort of cinematic quality, I would go as far to say, but especially the lyrics on this album, which deals with themes of isolation, loneliness, and kind of the fears of the power that be, a dystopian future. I personally feel this is quite similar to an album which was done recently by the band Muse. Yes, we've moved from Mew to Muse. The latest, by the date of this release of my review, called Simulation Theory. Again, futuristic, dystopian, all that sort of stuff, maybe kind of similar sounds, but to me this album, Witness, is 10 times better and 100 times less cheesy. So going on to the tracks, we'll start off with the first track, of course, which is called Straight Lines, and this track is kind of very good in inviting the listener into what they're going to experience, because the guitars are quite repetitive and chugging, and quite linear and straightforward, at least at first when the song begins. And Asker very sort of creatively sort of sings his passages in between the gaps of the guitar parts, which gives it a sort of galloping, running sort of sound to it, which, because of the topic of the lyrics on this song, suits it really well. Yes, being on the run to me is what this track's about, so this sound is very suitable. I really enjoy how through the use of each verse, the guitars, although playing the same riff, actually darken in its sound by going lower in tone. As well as that, there's more character to the instrumentation because more beeps and boops are added to the percussion, for example, as well as the use of synths too. Although the synths to me don't quite work in the sort of sound, I still think that overall it fits the song very well, and I think this is still a great opener. So for me, the better track is the second one, Head Mountain Sideways, and I feel this because this is the start of the experimentation I was hinting towards earlier in this review, because Vola not only has here a very multifaceted progressive tune, but also on the first verse starts everything off with a vocoded singing part, and to me this is like really good just because of how out there the idea is, but how it really fits the theme of this futuristic voyage into space and all that sort of ideas. And I really love it because it's got these sort of backmastered screams, which again gives it a sort of cinematic quality. The chorus on here is really melodic and quite anthemic too, and this whole track ends with a fantastic chugging breakdown of a guitar that kind of sounds like something that you get out of a groove metal tune. The third track is the one that I love, and if you can't tell by its title, 24 Light Years, is a song which to me is very sort of space inspired, particularly through its arpeggiator, and as well as that, its sort of polyphonic tribal drumming which is used too. This is the first time on the album where Vola uses their sort of trademark sing the chorus and have a piano accompany it, and the chorus in this one is really beautiful. This is quite a sad ballady tune actually. Details about a person who maybe has gone through some sort of breakup, through maybe a marriage or something like that, and they've been unable to move on essentially. There's a lyric in the chorus which says something like, I could leave this house but I won't, almost like this house encapsulates all of the memories this person has, but they're not quite ready to leave all of it behind and move on in their life. Then we've got These Black Claws, and this no doubt should be an attention grabber for most people and might be confusing to some too. Honestly, when I heard this song for the first time when I was out and about, I thought my phone just randomly put on a new album, and it was a very pleasant surprise. This is because the track starts with this very grimy and quite dismal sounding trip hop sort of beat, which is very akin to something that you would get off a classic Portishead track, but also has this sort of ominous and nocturnal sound which I got off one of my favourite hip-hop tunes of all time, a song called Between the Villains, which features Captain Murphy, aka Flying Lotus, MF Doom, and Earl Sweatshirt and Thundercat. I was thinking while listening to this for the first time how amazing it would be if they actually attempted to put in a rapped verse, and Lord above, they actually do it, and it fits the track really well. Now, the featured artist, a gentleman by the name of Shaman, I believe, is someone who I wasn't actually aware of until listening to this album, but because of his performance on here, I'm definitely going to try and investigate and check out this guy's discography. So Shaman fits this track theme very, very well with this very gargantuan verse, which takes up a good portion of the whole tune in itself, describing this sort of hellish landscape and very dystopian future. I'm going to give a shout out here to these lyrics, which I really like. Cities burn in a bad smoke, it makes my eyes itch, but front row seats to apocalypse are priceless. So on top of his great lyricism, I really enjoy Shaman's vocal delivery. He's got a very gravelly inflection. It's kind of like Tyler the Creator if he got really woke. The next track, Freak, definitely brings the tone down quite a bit, and it's definitely in through its tempo being a lot more woozy sound, and it's kind of got like a sort of psychedelic rock tune to it. It's got quite a lot of acoustic guitars on here. It's got very woozy synthesizers, and it's got this echoing effect on the guitars, which is very Smith's How Soon Is Now like. The track reads to me as a sort of angry breakup letter to someone who, having been in a relationship with them, discovers that who they appear to be was not how they appear to be at first sight, especially through the lyric, I took your mask away. Sort of revealing that they've been fake to them. And I don't know if it's intentional or not, but the way they sing Freak, they extend it so it sounds like free. And I don't know if that's intentional or not, like I say, but to me, I kind of thought that was clever because it's like they're free from this toxic relationship. The track Napalm slightly brings more fuel to the fire with a bit more of an up-tempo sound to it. And to me, this is kind of like maybe the poppiest song Vola have done so far. Not only with the very repetitive and quite simplistic chorus, but the sort of EDM sound and synthesizers, which are very heavily used on this track too. I think it's a pretty good song, but it might actually be my least favourite, mainly due to the drumming which is added on the second verse, which is very speedily played, but I don't think quite fits the sound and nature of this track. As well as that, I think the song as a whole could have maybe been abbreviated, just because of how repetitive the chorus is. It maybe might be a bit tiresome through subsequent listens. I definitely enjoyed the song Future Bird more because I found the chorus to be a lot better, and as well as that, I really enjoyed the additions of bells on this song because it kind of gives it a lullaby sort of quality to it. However, when looking into the lyrics and seeing that the lyrics seem to detail about the loss of a child, this lullaby quality to it definitely gives it a sort of devastating and very bittersweet sound to it. Following this, the song Stone Leader Falling Down is a song that really picks things up in high gears and helps bring this whole album up to a very great final act. Because to me, this includes the greatest riff on this album. Not only is the riff killer, very gent-like, but also the breakdown which is used in the later portion of this track is fantastic too. The track seems to be from the perspective of a lost believer and his sort of biting reaction to the failure of this faith that he has, helping him through a difficult time in his life, sort of how faith or some faiths can bring a sense of fake optimism and don't seem to help when someone actually really needs it, when it's actually promised. And finally, we'll wrap things up with the song Inside Your Fur, which kind of go back to similar themes which were dabbled into in previous tracks, again, sort of isolation and love loss, but there's a bit more of a positive spin on this track. I say this because of the chorus, which is, I will remember and erase you. So to me, this is kind of like the sequel to the song 24 Light Years, where this person was kind of stuck, not wanting to move on and wanting to hold on to the memories. But with the lyrics being, I will remember and erase you, it's kind of like, I will remember you, as in, I will remember the good times I've had, I will remember the mistakes that have been made and try and learn from them. But as well as that, I will erase you, as in, I will move on from this and continue to live my life, which I think helps make this album end on a quite positive note. Yes, I definitely think this gives it a sort of empowering quality to it and a kind of gratifying conclusion, and equally empowerment is yet again really good instrumental. So there isn't a track on Witness which I dislike. In fact, all of them I at least like, and many of which I love. So to talk about any negatives on this album, I'm really having to nitpick. These experiments which I notified you guys on is they're very singular in the placements of their songs, and I feel like they could have been embellished a bit more, maybe used throughout a track instead of just used in an isolated fashion. For example, Shaman, the rapper who was on one of the tracks, I feel like instead of just him having the verse and that being that, why couldn't he have maybe added additional vocals and maybe added ad-libs to the track when the track continued after his verse to again give it a bit more character and have him just, be involved with the song a lot more. And then I mentioned the song Head Mountain Sideways with its vocoder, which I really enjoyed. However, I think it could have been used a bit better. Instead of just appearing in the first verse and that's it, maybe it could have had a second verse, or if not that, I think it would have been really cool if the guys in the band found a way to use the vocoder to maybe sing over second or subsequent verses or the chorus, just again give it a bit more development and just include it a bit more too. But like I say, these things are minor gripes overall, and they could very well be ironed out and maybe explored a lot more in Vola's future releases. And this album is great and has definitely helped put these guys on the map, for me at least, to being one of the most exciting bands to follow, at least one of the best metal groups which I've personally really enjoyed, one of the better metal groups which are going out there at the moment. Now, although for me, out of the 3 albums, I still prefer Applause of a Distant Crowd, this by no means put down this album's quality. This is still, to me, the most creative and imaginative record that Vola have done so far, and like I say, it makes me very excited to see what they've got in store next time. I'm going to give this album an 8 out of 10, and I really recommend you guys check this out if you're into metal, which, like I say, is willing to try newer, unexplored territories and always having a very captivating and melodic sound to it, which makes me really enjoy it every time I put it on. And that's it. So thank you very much for watching, everybody. I hope you're taking care of yourselves, and I'll see you later, hopefully. Bye for now.
Thanks for listening.